Most breathwork content out there will tell you that a little bit of breathwork is better than no breathwork. And while that's technically true, there is a threshold. There is a physiological point where your practice stops making temporary changes and it starts to make durable ones. This is scientific literature that most teachers of breathwork have never read, but we are going to go over it today in today's episode of the Breath Lab. Normally on the Breath Lab, we go over specific studies and we just talk about what that study says. In today's episode, we are going to attempt synthesis. What this basically means is we're going to take a look at multiple studies to try to answer the question, what is that threshold? How far do we need to go to get the most durable benefits from our breath practice? Now, in today's episode, we're going to cover that, and the results may surprise you. Before we get into the research, we have to be honest with the fact that we're really asking two questions, and very few people ever really acknowledge this, but it's important to do that. We're really asking two questions. What does a breathwork session do in the here and now? And what does a repeated breath practice do over time? That is to say, what does repeated breathwork do to your overall baseline? And in this episode, we are going to answer both questions. The first bit of research we're going to look at comes to us from Denmark. This was research that was done on 21 healthy individuals, and they asked them to breathe for 5 minutes at 6 breaths per minute, 15 minutes, and 30 minutes. So 3 different times that they had them breathe. It was approximately 6 breaths per minute that they had them do the breathing for. What they were testing using ECG was heart rate variability. So they tested right as soon as they got done with the session. They tested 10 minutes later, and then they also tested 30 minutes later. So what we need to think about here is if they're testing HRV, they are testing the vagal response. They are testing how active the vagus nerve is currently. So if they do 5 minutes of breathing, they want to know what the heart rate variability is right as soon as that session is done. They want to know what it is at 10 minutes after and 30 minutes after. So they're testing vagal activity, right? Is that vagus nerve active? And the results are going to blow your mind. So first of all, they did find that whether it was 5 minutes, 15 minutes, or 30 minutes, they did see a raise in heart rate variability. So they did see vagal activation. But this is where we start to see a difference in what we might expect. So here's what they found. When they did 5 minutes of the breathing, they found that there was a significant increase in heart rate variability immediately after they practiced. They also found that it was still elevated 10 minutes after. But after that 10-minute reading, when they tested it later, it had gone back to baseline. So at 30 minutes, the boost in HRV from 5 minutes of 6 breaths per minute had all but dissipated completely. When they practiced breathing at a rate of about 6 breaths per minute for 15 minutes, they saw an increase in heart rate variability immediately after. They saw an increase in heart rate variability that sustained 10 minutes after, and it was still raised 30 minutes after the fact. So what we're seeing here is a durable signal. This is something that the dose does affect the duration of the benefits that you see. And if you think about this, it may not be exactly what you predicted. At 30 minutes, it was basically the same as 15 minutes, but stronger all the way across the board at every interval that they checked. Now, here's the part that really matters. At the 15-minute mark, 15 minutes of practice, not only did we see that those HRV markers were elevated, but they actually became stronger 30 minutes later. So what we saw is a really durable signal. The breathing had stopped, but the nervous system response had not. So what we find here is a threshold. At 5 minutes, we do see a response, but it does fade. At 15 minutes, it becomes durable. 15 minutes and above, we see that durability, that increase in HRV, even 30 minutes after the breathing stopped. Now we're going to throw a wrench in it, and we're going to take a look at another study, the Stanford study that we covered earlier on the Breath Lab, and you can take a look up here, and you can see my analysis of that study. This was a Stanford study that compared cyclical sighing, box breathing, slow breathing, like a Wim Hof style breathing, against mindfulness. And it showed that the cyclical sighing, done just 5 minutes a day, showed a real robust improvement and reduction of anxiety and improvement of mood. So does 5 minutes work or not? What does it do? Well, here is where we start to look at the parameters of these studies, the things that were studied. Now, in the Stanford study, and this was published in Cell Reports Medicine in, I believe it was 2023, we see what happens when you do 5 minutes of breath work every single day for a month, okay? In the study that we were talking about before, where it was 5, 15, and 30 minutes of practice, that was a single session. So now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so we start to see the duration of a specific session and how if you just do a short amount of breath in a specific session, it affects you in that moment, but there is a limited amount of time you're going to get that effect. The next thing we took a look at is the Stanford study, where we say if you practice regularly, even if it's just 5 minutes per day, over an extended period of time, you start to see an accumulated result. So this is where our synthesis is going to lead us. What happens when we combine this knowledge together? It seems as though the thing that matters the most is the time scale that we're talking about. So, of course, the obvious next question is, if 5 minutes a day for a month works, what happens when we add this knowledge together? What happens when we lengthen the duration of the session over time? Well, there is a study that helps us to learn more about this as well. Researchers at USC had subjects breathe twice per day for approximately 6 breaths per minute for 20 minutes. So 2 20-minute sessions per day over the course of a month. Now, what they were looking for was amyloid beta peptides. And this is the stuff that gets cleared out every night when we sleep. This is what we see that builds up sometimes that might lead to Alzheimer's. And they were looking to see if there was any kind of change. Now, this is a physiological change. This is more than just I feel different. This is literal markers in the blood. And what they found with this study is going to blow your mind. What they showed is that the levels of amyloid beta peptide dropped over the course of those 4 weeks. Now, this is a different class of results. This is different than just feeling better. This is showing a systemic change based off of a practice of breathing. Now, this is also where we start to get our first threshold. So in this particular study, we get a threshold of 1,100 minutes per month. Now, this is also where we get our first real threshold. According to this research, we start to see these major changes after 1,100 minutes of practice. Now, we can also look at the HRV research that's been done, and we start to see another threshold emerge. Now, this one's a little bit lower. This is 400 minutes of practice. So somewhere between 400 minutes of practice and 1,100 minutes of practice, we start to see systemic changes across the board. These are durable, long-lasting changes, despite whether or not you're practicing at that moment or not. These are baseline level changes that we can achieve once we reach this threshold of practice. So in the HRV practice, we saw 20 minutes of practice per day for about 4 or 5 weeks. In the study that tested the amyloid beta peptides, we saw 20 minutes twice daily, so 40 minutes a day practice over a course of a month. So we have right now the basis of an educated way of looking at how much practice we need before we start to see those long-lasting results. So let's break this down into 3 tiers so that we have a working framework that we can use in our lives. First of all, we have tier 1. This is the 5-minute session. This is the session where we do see an actual change in our HRV. We see the vagus nerve is activating. It's just that about 30 minutes later, we don't see that signal anymore. It's something that is a very real thing, but the duration of the signal is not there, usually about 30 minutes later. The next tier number 2, we're looking at 15 minutes to 30 minutes of practice. This is, again, as we've been talking about before, this is 6 breaths per minute for 15 to 30 minutes. And what we see is that this signal is still going strong 30 minutes after that session. So if you do that, you're seeing more than just a little change, you're seeing a significant boost in your HRV for that day. Now, if you keep doing that on a daily basis, then you work your way to tier number 3. Tier number 3 is where we start to see a durable baseline change, where we start to see real systemic changes within our physiology. And this is where you're practicing somewhere around 400 minutes within the course of a month. And we've talked about the variation in the amount of time depending on the study that we were looking at. But when we looked at the HRV study, we're looking at about 20 minutes per day, every single day for a month. Or you can break that down. Maybe it's something where we see 5 minutes a day for 80 days, right? So it seems as though the accumulation of time is the more important factor. It's more of that. However, this is how I interpret that data, and this is how I've practiced it myself. I want the long boosted change throughout the day, and I want the durable change in my physiology over a long run. So my practice looks like 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening, 6 breaths per minute. And I'm doing that every single day. I'm not, I don't have a calculator next to my bed where I'm like, okay, let's see, am I to 400 minutes yet? But this is the threshold that we seem to be able to parse out from the research that we have. Now, I want to make a really important note here. The research that we've looked at, the preponderance of the research that shows durable changes in vagal tone, all right? So we measure this with HRV, right? So if you have a high HRV and it's just, hey, I do my 15 minutes in the morning, but here I am, it's noon, and my HRV is just baseline is higher. If you're seeing these physiological changes, the preponderance of research shows that it is the 6 breaths per minute cadence. It's slow breathing, not hyperventilative breath work. So a lot of people say, yes, I practice breath work every day. I practice 15 minutes in the morning. Awesome, I'm already there. But the research shows that this style of breath, so the hyperventilative style of breath, is not the style that's going to show the durable changes over time. In fact, we generally don't see much of a change in HRV at all when we're practicing hyperventilative breath work. It's not to say that there are no benefits and there's no reason to use those styles, but it is to say that if you're trying to build a practice that makes real changes in the way that you feel and in verifiable objective markers, that slow 6 breaths, approximately 6 breaths per minute, that cadence, that's the one that the research points to. Now, having said this, this is amazing news. This is really incredible. This is proof that we can make real, durable changes in objective markers by just practicing something as simple as 6 breaths per minute, twice a day or once a day, however you'd like to structure your practice. Now, I do have to throw a little bit of cold water on this, and it's not a lot, but please bear with me. There are some limitations to this. All of the research that we're looking at today was done on healthy populations. So when you apply this to a person maybe who has epilepsy or who has a heart condition or some other health problem, the results may be different. Okay, so I'm not saying don't do it. I still think it's worth doing, but you may not be able to say, okay, that's that 400-minute mark that I'm looking for. Now I've reached that. It may be different for you if you suffer from one of those conditions. The second limitation is that we do need to see more research done in this field. We need to see research done with larger populations. The research that we're really pointing to mostly in this episode was done with just 21 healthy individuals. Now, that's not nothing. That is real data, and those individuals were tested against themselves. So it was a really good study, but it's not something that we've seen in large studies. We haven't seen it replicated in large studies. So it hasn't been disproven yet, but we need to see larger studies to really get a better picture. Here are some things that we can say with some relative confidence. Does 15 minutes outperform 5 minutes of practice? Yes, we can say that with some pretty good confidence. Does the cumulative number of minutes that you practice make a measurable change overall? We can pretty much say that the answer is yes. We've seen it in multiple studies testing different things. And we can say that if you practice over a long period of time, and again, the preponderance of this is the technique of 6 breaths per minute, you will see some physiological changes in just your baseline. Now, to me, that is amazing. And this is one of those episodes where I've really wanted to do it. I've had a lot of people ask, this kind of question, and I wanted to dig deep into what we're really trying to get out of breath work. We're not just trying to have out of this world, explosions in our head, right? And in fact, hopefully that's not the overall goal that you have with breath work. If you're into altered state breath work, actually, I teamed up with a neuroscientist and we created a course specifically for how to work with what comes up when you're practicing those techniques. You can take a look in the link below, it's there. But the reality is, in addition to having those very useful experiences in altered state breath work, if we practice sometimes the most mundane things, but we practice it regularly, it's just like so many things in life. That seems to be the thing that moves the needle the most, and it keeps the needle there. It's not just something that, okay, I have to keep doing in order to feel that change. It's the difference between taking a pain medicine and doing physical therapy. One is short-term, the other is long-term. Yes, you have to work for it, but it's there and it's worth it. I gotta say, I think you're worth it too. I know I'm worth it. So this has been a fun episode for a deeper dive in the breakdown of the research. You can take a look at my works cited in below. You can also find me on Substack, where I will break this down in a little bit more detail if you want to nerd out with me even more over on Substack. Thanks so much for sticking through this entire episode. I know this is one that we were really flexing our brain muscles, but that is what the Breath Lab here on the Breathwork channel is all about. Next week, we're going to debunk a myth. We're going to debunk a myth in the world of breathwork. This is one that has persisted way too long. I'm not going to give it away, but it may be up here. But if you're ready for a myth to be debunked in the world of breathwork, stay tuned to the Breath Lab, and I'll see you then.